Hey my friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Yara Willard. I'm the Herbal Jedi, and today we're going to dive deep into one of nature's most underrated powerhouses, the humble dandelion. I know you've seen this one before, growing in your gardens. It's a weed, right? And the side of the sidewalks. Well, that's not entirely true, because actually, this is one of the biggest treasure troves for healing properties there is. Everything from liver support and digestive health to skincare. This plant does it all, and I'm going to break it all down for you today. So let's get into it. Push the plant lots of we'll see. Dandelion is a full spectrum herb, meaning every part of this plant is useful as food or medicine. The flowers, the leaves, and the roots. So I want to break it down for you, but really just when it comes to harvesting, first thing we need to know is that it's really the early spring or the late fall that we want to harvest dandelion, and each part has its own time of year. So first off, the flowers, as you can see right now, this is early spring, and these flowers are in perfect bloom right now. So this is the time to harvest the flowers. Earlier in the spring, or even just now, we can start to work with those spring leaves. So the leaves are ideal to harvest if they're shade grown, because that's when they have less of the bitter compounds, and the earlier in the season you get them, the tastier they are. The roots can be harvested first thing in the spring as well, and you get more of those liver healing qualities, whereas in the fall, as they pack on more of the inulin and the starches, you get more of those blood sugar stabilizing qualities and digestive microbiome supportive qualities. So depending on when you want or what you're looking for with the roots, that's the time of year we'll harvest them. This plant is interesting in that its chemistry changes and fluctuates throughout the year. In the summer, we don't usually harvest dandelions because it has more of those bitter compounds and it's a taste that is just not very enjoyable. Right now, because the flowers are in, I'm mostly interested in them, but we're going to harvest the whole plant and talk about each individual part and its health benefits. This is probably my favorite tool for harvesting roots, especially dandelion and burdock and other long taproots. This is a hori-hori, and this is a tool that allows me to go right down beside the root, make as little damage as possible, and then usually what I can do is I can either make a hole beside it, and then I can go onto the other side and push the plant into the hole, and we're usually able to pull up the entire thing without breaking the roots off. Now, that's pretty good. There we go. We got a nice dandelion right there. That's looking good. We'll pull this one out. This is actually two. That's an easier one to kind of see the whole root. So they can sometimes go from these long taproots to these kind of more branched, gnarly taproots. Each individual dandelion is unique. And these ones are a little harder to clean than these. I'm going to take these, break them apart. Another thing I like about this tool is I can literally use it as a saw. So I have just the roots. And once I've collected a few dozen roots, I'll wash them all off with a scrub brush. So before I get harvesting too much, I often like to take a moment to just tune in with the plant and kind of bring my energy back down to this level where we're in harmony and connection. So thank you, dandelion. You are an amazing, amazing ally. I think of you as just such a powerful plant that shows up wherever people need you. You're one of the people plants. And I just really want to give some love and appreciation to you today. And I want to invite your medicine to come with us on this video to share with people a little bit how they can start to work with one of the most abundant and tenacious plants that is often misunderstood. So a little bit of love, and I hope that we can just tune in and start to work with you more as medicine. So I'm just gonna start popping them up. Sometimes what's interesting is the biggest foliage can sometimes have the tiniest roots. Look at how tiny these are. This massive foliage and tiny roots. All right. There you go. I'm just gonna separate out the foliage from the roots, so that we have all of our roots, and I'm going to make a little dandelion coffee with these roots. So we're just going to put all the roots into one pile and get all the foliage into another. I love eating spring dandelion leaves. They're far less bitter than those summer ones, I gotta tell you. Give me a second while I chew this up. I'm going to separate out all these leaves And we're going to use them to make a bit of a spring salad. Now, some people find that even though they're not that bitter in the spring, they're still too bitter for them. So what I often suggest in that case is that you give them a little stir fry or a little saute. I've seen people put dandelion leaves on pizza or saute them as kind of a greens at a base of a stir fry, similar to like what you might do with kale in that sense. Break them down a little bit, it'll make them just a little more sweet. Although, I will say this is a great base for a salad. Now the benefits of dandelion leaves are that they're very high in vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin K. They got a lot of minerals, a lot of B vitamins in them, and they're just in general like potassium and magnesium and just a very high calcium rich plant. This plant not only has calcium, it also has vitamin K in it, making it really good for bone density. So it's one of those ones you might think of for that. The leaves tend to be far more diuretic than any other part of the plant. If we're working with kidney health, this is the part we might want to work with, is the leaves. If we're working with liver health, though, of course, we might want to start to work with the roots. So I'm just going to harvest, not all of them. The leaves are usually pretty abundant, and sometimes we'll dry out the leaves and make them into a nice tea for our kidney, kind of a kidney clear tea. I think we actually have dandelion leaf in the tea that we've made. And that would be a great way too. So we chop them up, make them into a nice tea, easily added to other herbs, especially probably what I would do in this case is add them to things like our uva ursi or juniper berry for diuretic qualities. We also see that there's a bit of a blood cleansing quality to this plant too, both in the leaves and the roots. So I think I got enough leaves though here because I'm only going to make a salad. I'm not making a tincture or anything with these or a tea today. So that's probably enough. And there we go. I tend not to want to wash my leaves too much because they have a beautiful biofilm on them that is part of their medicine, if you ask me. Now you can definitely do that, but if you can, you're better to just scrub them off with a little dry brush, or when you get into the kitchen, just chop off those bottom bits that were close to the ground. And then you have a great spring green to base your salad with. I'm a massive fan of spring salads, especially wild spring salads. So dandelion leaves might be a great base, but there are so many plants, even right here where I'm sitting, that are edible, including right now this Siberian miner's lettuce, which is delicious. I would put that into my salad. I would also be using some of these mustard greens that we have along here, this pepper crest that's right here. There's some sheep sorrel over there. And just even within this little local ecosystem, including the cat's ear, there's tons of wild edibles. So I highly recommend that you start to incorporate dandelion leaves as part of a bigger spring salad initiative to get your body acclimatized to the wilds and tune back in with the natural world. All right, now let's take a moment to talk about the roots. Now, this is where a lot of the medicine is. I'm going to wash these as we talk because I'll be making these into a dandelion roasted coffee. The best way to do this is just to kind of put them in a nice bowl of warm water, get a good scrub brush, and if you need, have a knife for these kind of more detailed roots to pull them apart to just make sure they're nice and clean. A lot of the medicine in dandelion is in the root. This is the part that is best for the liver. It also has a lot of those bitter compounds that really help stimulate digestion. So here's what we want to use for really our digestive medicine and our liver medicine. The fall roots, as I mentioned before, have more starches and inulin, meaning they're better as a prebiotic to really help enhance better microbiome health and also to stabilize the blood sugars to a degree. So this is something we might want to make as a morning brew, as a dandelion coffee, like I'm going to do. There is no caffeine in it, but we are going to be able to make a brew that is not only tasty, it's going to help to stabilize our body and have us start the day off right. One of the benefits of these big long taproots is they actually help to aerate the soil. They are a bit of a nitrogen fixer, so they bring up moisture and minerals from lower in the soil to help break up stagnation in the topsoil. This is why we see them often in grasslands and in people's yards. It's because they're actually helping to aerate the soil. You'll notice in a lawn that has dandelions, if it is a drought and everyone's yard is starting to look brown, the dandelion lawn yard will actually look a lot greener because it's getting more nutrition and more moisture up through the roots. This is a bit of a doctrine of correspondence for how this works in the body. Now, dandelion is amazing for the liver. This is its most famous way of being used, is to help support the liver and the gallbladder. Not only does the bitter stimulate bile production, which helps with fat emulsification and fat absorption. It helps to digest better. It also helps to aerate the liver. Just like it aerates the soil, just like it is a taproot that goes in, dandelion is one of the best liver cleansers, and it really helps to break up a fatty liver and break up stagnation in the liver. So it's helping emulsify the fats in the digestive tract, but also breaking up stagnation in the liver. And that's why this is one of my favorite spring cleansing herbs, is just to work with dandelion. Other herbs like this are burdock. Burdock is probably one of the most common ones that is quite similar. They're in the same family, and I'll usually use dandelion and burdock together. In fact, in our cleanse tea, we always are using these two together. Dandelion is a potent herb that we might want to add into a blend for excessive PMS symptoms or for perimenopausal years. The energetics of dandelion root are bitter, cooling, and a little bit sweet, which means that they can help deal with emotional turbulence in the body. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, they're helpful in moving damp heat, which means when there's stagnant heat, especially in the lower part of the body or in the liver, this is very common of your Northern European descendant. They have a hot liver energetically, which means they're often prone to anger, frustration, envy, jealousy, these kinds of hot emotions. Dandelion might be the right medicine for this from a flower essence perspective, but also using dandelion root might be really helpful for someone who is prone to volatile, explosive behavior, or someone who is playing Mr. Nice Guy, who is not allowing themselves to tap into their anger. You might find that working with dandelion actually helps these people become more empowered and able to speak up for themselves instead of playing too nice. A few more things about dandelion root is that they're mildly nutritive and slightly adaptogenic, which means that they work in many different facets of the body. They do have a light diuretic quality, not like the leaves, which are quite a bit more diuretic, but they will help move things through the kidneys, and they're also lightly laxative. So some people have found when drinking dandelion tea, it helps them have their morning BM. I also say if you're one of those people who is a little bit constipated, this might be a great medicine to add into your blends. Lastly, dandelion roots have really been shown to support blood pressure and fluid retention. Partially, this is often from helping detoxify the body and having a diuretic quality, but also dealing with excessive hormone load or allergies. This can be a really useful root when there's any type of toxic load in the system. So whether it's water retention, hormones, allergies, diuretic qualities, a little laxative quality, dandelion helps to aerate the system, move out toxins, and bring us back into a more balanced state of harmony. This is what this humble little root can offer us. Once we've washed these roots, we are going to chop them all up into small slices and put them into the oven to roast to make dandelion root coffee. So dandelion flowers are quite delicious. They have a lot of flavonoid groups in them, which means that they're really high in antioxidants. So we might just nibble on them when we're out in the field or put them on our salads. Or what I'm going to do today is I'm doing what's called denuding the dandelion. The green sepals on the outside of the flower have a little bit of a bitter compound. And if I want to harvest them to make them as some kind of medicine or food, I'm going to just want the yellows. If I get any of the green in there, it's going to end up being a little bitter. So I'll typically pick a dandelion head, get right into it, and just pull out all the yellow. And this is how I'll go around and harvest the dandelions, usually just pulling all the yellow out and denuding them as I go. And if you get a little bit of green in there, you can just come along and pick that off. What I'm hoping to do is to fill a container like this full of yellows, and then I will make a dandelion wine or a dandelion honey. We're getting a little later in the day, so I'm not going to be able to pick as many dandelion flowers as I want, but I will make another video to share with you more about how to make a dandelion wine. This is one of my favorite recipes. It's really easy, but essentially we're just going to take the yellows, mix them with honey, yeast, and water, and start maybe some lemon as well and some type of nutritive for the yeast. We'll ferment that out for a good 3 months, decant it off, and let it sit bottled for about 6 months before we drink it. And it is delicious if you let it sit long enough. So making a dandelion flower wine is a great way to work with it. One of the other things I like to do with dandelion flowers is I'll mix them in with some kind of pancake or biscuit batter and make little dandelion flower cakes. They're delicious and they can be nicely done savory or sweet. We also might find that making just a simple dandelion flower syrup can be a great way to add to bubbly water in the summer months. Again, high in antioxidants, lots of flavonoids, lots of good nutrition in them. They have a bit of a restorative tonic effect, so it's a really useful medicine if we can find a way to capture it. So either a syrup, make a pancake, or make a dandelion flower wine. These are some of the easy ways to start to work with dandelion flowers, or just sprinkle them on your salad because they're beautiful. One of the more interesting folklores about dandelion is actually using the latex for helping to remove warts. That's right, this is not just a folklore though. I do know people who have done this, but what they've had to do is repeatedly put that latex on 5 to 6 times a day, if not more, for a week or so before the wart fell off. Now, I also know people who have done this and it's not worked for them, but there's something interesting in this latex that actually helps to kill the root of a wart and move it off. So you might want to try this at home. The idea will be take fresh dandelions, milk out this latex, and put it onto a wart like so. In Chinese medicine, this plant is considered to have a lot of strong qi, and something my father, Dr. Terry Willard, told me was that the seeds actually were used as an antibiotic, as an antibacterial. There's that much potency in them. So another way we might want to work with them is actually grind up those seeds and use them as a bit of an antibacterial when we get coughs and colds or need something to deal with the bacterial infection. So whether it's the root, the leaf, or the flower, every part of this plant is an amazing medicine and should not be overlooked. So next time you see dandelion, don't pull it out as a weed. Get curious. You're looking at a powerful healing ally that has been helping people for thousands of years. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more helpful plant wisdom. I'd love to hear from you your experience in working with dandelion as food or medicine. So please share in the comments below. All right, my friends, we look forward to seeing you next time. May the forest be with you. Brrroo!